What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to Double M Live. You know how we do, man. Another week to talk about craziness. This is where sports and urban culture collide. You already know who I got with me, Mr. Mike Nice. What's the word, bro?
It's always a pleasure when Double M is popping, man. When Marvin and I get together and do the show, it's always magic. We bring magic to the table. That's just what we do. Marv.
Hey, man. I mean, we're not here to toot our own horn, but you're not lying, bro. You're
Never.
not lying.
You don't tell lies here on Double M, bro.
But we got a special episode, man. Since season 3 has jumped off, Mike, we haven't been able to really dive into the Celtics yet. We haven't been able, the season's been going on, and you and I, we've had our talks about the Celtics, but we haven't spoken to the world about what's going on in this 2020-2021 pandemic season right now.
Yeah, like you said, a lot's been going on left and right conversation. Valentine's Day was just a couple weeks ago and whatnot. But back in the back of our minds, the conversation and just talking about this, it's been boiling. And especially with the way that team's been playing over the last weeks, it's reached a boiling point. So we have to dive into a conversation about the Celtics, what's going on with this team, and just really give our thoughts and feelings and reaction, because this Celtics team, boy, oh boy, Marv, boy, oh boy.
Yeah, but with season 3, you guys already know we're coming with surprises every single week with you guys. And if we're going to talk Celtics, we couldn't do it by ourselves. We got to bring in some heavy hitters now. Know what I'm saying, Mike? There's one thing they hear it from us, but we got to bring in some heavy hitters with us as well, so we can really dive into what's going on. So with that being said, Mr. Mike Nice, what's on the playlist today?
On the playlist today with Double M Live, like Marv said, we got a special guest. And joining us on Double M, we got our guy, JOSUE PAVON, Celtics and NBA writer with Heavy.com and a Celtics reporter with CLNS Media Network. Our guy,
what's going on, fellas?
Joining us today on Double M Live. JOSUE, what's going on, my guy?
I'm chilling, man. I'm enjoying this rare night off, but of course, enjoying it means watching NBA on TNT, right? I mean, this is the annual thing. I mean, and listen, too, Mark. Shout out to Mark. I like the way you preface the season, right? COVID-19 season, because this is a very unique season, which, of course, the Celtics, just like all 30 NBA teams, they've all been affected by it, right? So it's a very unique season, and yeah, I mean, outside of all the uniqueness of this year, at least we still have that, right? This annual announcement that we always look forward to, and of course, next week when we find out the reserves.
Yeah, man, it's the season's moving along. Even though with everything going on, they're pushing their way through. You got players in and out of lineups. You got games getting canceled left and right. But the NBA is saying, hey, we're pushing through. We'll reschedule. We'll do whatever we have to do to continue this train moving along, man. But yeah,
for sure. I mean, it's tough because obviously, like, when you compare it to the basketball we got in the bubble, like, it was crazy, right? I mean, the experience was different, and no fans, but we got used to that real quick because the brand itself was solid, and that was something that at least I said, man, that was a successful thing that the NBA was able to put together. Obviously, how they used that platform, obviously, for everything that was going on and putting everything out in the forefront. But then you go ahead and heading into this season, I mean, teams are plagued by people being diagnosed with COVID. Protocols are leaving teams putting out, whether it's postponing games or leaving them without 4 or 5 of their better players, so it's tough. Of course, the Celtics suffered from some of the postponed games, and I think it affects the basketball as a whole, the brand itself. But it's 1/3 into the season, I'm hoping that things will start to get better. Unfortunately, we did have a couple of games postponed this week. Unfortunately, for selfish reasons, my team might get the first L of my fantasy team.
Oh, you too.
Listen, huh? I have never I've gone undefeated. I've had a little run, right? A little cute run, but I've never gone this far. Man, 8-0, man, I was looking for 10. Listen, I get 10-0. I'm good. I'm at peace with it. I got a good run here, but 8, got cut off.
No, I hear you, man. I'm number one I'm in the first place in my fantasy league too, and COVID is just smacking. Oh, COVID and injuries
Tough,
is
man.
smacking me.
It's
But
tough, and it's crazy because last week was the week I was supposed to lose, right? Last week I
right,
was up against number 2, right? The top contender. And I was down for like, it was back and forth. It was a great battle, epic fantasy battle towards the end. And, as soon as I won that, literally just like whether games were postponed or
That's how it's been hitting all year.
take
All
one night
year.
of a back-to-back rest, like, and I can't even put the dude on my injury list and pick up somebody else. It's like, man, this person's not even hurt. So, for selfish reasons, we've all been hit as well.
Feel your pain. Feel your pain.
and there's a lot we're about to dive into, especially with the Celtics talk. But before we even get there, the beauty of doing a live show, beauty of these things is you get breaking news,
Oh,
and
Yes,
and one of the thing about breaking news, something that Celtics fans, the one little thing that Celtics fans have been looking forward to is seeing if Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum, but especially Jaylen Brown, could he make his first All-Star appearance, and could he be an All-Star starter? Well, guys, I have the list of the All-Star starters.
let us hear it.
Ooh,
Let us hear it.
What we got?
So for center, we got guys do center up. Center,
Of course,
obviously.
of course. All right, Ernie, what you got?
Joel got it. Joel
course.
got it. And we all knew that.
MVP candidate,
At captain, Kevin Durant, comeback season.
of course.
Yeah,
Well deserved.
He's balling.
And then at the 3, Giannis Antetokounmpo, 2-time MVP.
You figured that too. That's automatic.
Automatic. And now here is where everyone had the question marks, right? You have between Kyrie, Bradley Beal, James Harden, and Jaylen Brown. The 2 are Kyrie Irving and Bradley Beal.
I called that. Did I not call that, Marvin? We was talking before that Bradley Beal was going to get the nod.
And I wanted Bradley Beal. We can get everyone's reaction. I wanted Bradley Beal to get it due to he's leading the NBA in scoring right now, trying to put the Wizards on his back. Kyrie, the only reason Kyrie deserves it, the only reason I was going to give him that knock is due to the time that he missed, due to the mental health aspect and why he left the team for a little bit. Due to that leaving, I would have gave that nod to Jaylen Brown, for what the season that he's having. But you can't get mad when you look at this all-star starter, in my opinion.
Yeah, you can't get mad. Bradley Beal, I'm with you. I wanted that. I mean, considering what happened last year, also, I mean, it kind of is like, but you better give that man his flowers. Let him start. Let him, he's gonna go for MVP. Like, let's face it, this is it right here. Like, he's gonna go all out. So and it's well deserved, of course. And for Kyrie, just because of the games he missed, the turmoil bit, they had that rough patch. But then so did the Celtics. I think that really hit Jaylen chances, or whether we're talking Jaylen or Tatum to start, in general. That's tough, that what was it, losing 8 games in the last 10, so it's tough, but I think Jan's gonna make it though. We'll hear his name next week for sure.
Yeah, I'm definitely expecting to see 2 Celtics on that reserve list come next week. But that starting lineup for the East doesn't surprise me at all. Literally, Marvin and I were talking before, the show began, and that's pretty much the lineup I figured was going to be announced. And then you look on the other side of the things with the West, at center, you got the Joker holding it down. He's having an MVP caliber season.
Definitely.
LeBron James being named the captain once again. Then you got Kawhi Leonard right there at the other 4 position, and the 2 guards is Steph Curry and Luka Doncic. And I know, Marv, you was a little iffy about Luka being named there. So speak on that a little bit.
Yeah, there'll be 2 things I would have changed. One is not that big of a deal with me, but I think Paul George is having a better season than Kawhi Leonard currently right now, and I would have gave him the nod as an all-star starter. But the one that I really don't like is Luka over Dame Lillard. Shout out to Luka, probably future MVP in this league, but Dame Lillard right now is an all-star starter, and he deserves it over Luka Doncic. Plain and simple.
Yeah, I think it's tough, man, because he's always has to sort of put the team on his back, and of course Luka does that to a certain extent too as well. But I just think it hurts him a bit, in that aspect of the Trailblazers. But yeah, that's a fair argument. I don't know about the Kawhi and Paul George thing though. I mean, really, Kawhi of late. I think of late that's what's been. But then Paul George has been out with the
exactly. He's missed a lot of time.
Just this week, trust me, I have him on my fantasy team. It's just been this past week or so that Paul George has been hurt. But prior to that, I thought he was having a hell of a season.
That's true. Yeah, just this week.
Yeah, they're both having good seasons. I mean, it's tough. It's always every year they do the All-Star starters. You know, there's going to be some snubs and whatnot, especially with the reserves that come out. The snubs are always going to be talked about, and who should have been starter, who didn't. And you know, it's always going to happen. It's the beauty of the conversation when All-Star comes around. But again, what do you guys feel? Should there be a game? Should there not be a game? Real quick thoughts on that.
I mean, there shouldn't, man. There really shouldn't. But it's just the NBA. You know, it's a business. I mean, it just doesn't surprise me, man. They're gonna protect that bottom line. You know, I don't see I'm not surprised at all that they're trying to do this.
I'm a little surprised. Due to all the contract tracing, all the games that got postponed during this year. You would think that they'd say, okay, you know, let's relax, let's keep everyone at home with their families. Especially, I didn't even know that they said this, but especially prior to the season, they said there wasn't going to be an All-Star game.
Yep. So that's going to be a break. That was the plan. And I'm like, that's not happening. Even in the beginning, I was like, that's not really. I was surprised just from the beginning.
Yeah, so very shocked that they still want to go through it. I mean, nothing's really changed from December till now, COVID-wise. I know vaccines are starting to come out, but with that being said, NBA is all about the money, right? Cash rules everything around it.
Exactly. And think about, you know, how they, like, heading into it, they envision fans being in the stands at least by, I don't know, March or April. That looks like it might not be the case. I mean, there's no telling at this point. So they're like, man, they got to pull out all the stops here because, I mean, that's where a lot of revenue is being missed. I mean, that's the reason why some of these arenas are allowing people right now, you know, because they're like, listen, we have to, when you couple with what happened last year, you know, it's like we need some revenue coming in. And the NBA, they're going to do the best they can to protect that as well, unfortunately. But hopefully when all these players are on vacation and wherever they're traveling, I mean, I don't see a world where there's not going to be more postponed games after that, and things won't be pushed back here. But I think also you have to remember the fact that the rest of the regular season hasn't even been broken down yet. So
that's
the
crazy.
NBA, they were expecting this, you know. So I don't know if they were expecting the extent of this spike to last this long. I mean, we're not that far away from March, you know.
Yeah. Very true. Very true.
Man, it's crazy. It's been a whole year, you know. It's not gonna be
that
far from when this whole thing started, you know, with the NBA shutting down.
Rudy Gay being the poster boy for that.
Man, that night was crazy. That's one of those. Where were you that night, right?
Yep.
Like, man. And believe it or not, what was I doing? About to record a podcast. Now, wait a minute, guy. Let's wait till everything gets resolved first before we hop on the mics, right? Because all this information is coming in at once. I'm like, we're not going to record for like at least an hour. Like, we need to gather everything before. That was wild night. Yeah,
it was wild indeed, man. But as we said before, the season is still pushing along. The NBA is doing whatever they can to have the season run as smoothly as possible. And, you know, once again, we have our guy JOSUE here joining us. And, you know, JOSUE, we know all your works everywhere with the CLNS Media Network, with Heavy.com. Also forgot to mention your co-host of the Cedric Maxwell podcast. Shout out
Appreciate
to that podcast
Mike.
as well. But we got to dive in on the Celtics, man. The Boston Celtics, our team, our hometown team.
Where do we begin?
Woo,
at least we started with the All-Stars, right? At least we started with the good news.
You know,
on a little bit of happy note.
Good news, Celtics. The dynamic duo is going to the first All-Star. I mean, I guess not. It's all beneficial, right? But yeah.
Yes. But I mean, so when I look at the Celtics, JOSUE, coming into the season, right, saw all the moves that Danny Ainge, you know, made or lack thereof, and just at the end of the offseason, once the team was somewhat in place, I'd look to anybody who would talk Celtics with me, and I said to them, what kind of team are the Celtics putting out on the floor? This is not really a championship team. They're not really a rebuilding team. They're
Sound
just
like me, Mike. Sound a little bit like me. Yeah.
Danny Ainge doesn't know if he wants to contend for a championship after being a few games away from the NBA Finals, but Danny Ainge isn't trying to, you know, build up some young players and start brand new. They're just right in the middle. So coming into the season, what was your thoughts and feelings? You said, I think you're saying similar to you, but what were your thoughts?
Very similar to you, because I was thinking about how thin this bench is now, right? Like let's rewind, right? Preseason, right? I'm concerned about the bench. I'm concerned about the defense specifically, right? Mm-hmm. Gordon Hayward was a big part of that. Guys off the bench, you know, contributing as a cohesive unit. I thought even with the team that we saw in last year's postseason, I'm like, that bench could use an upgrade. I'll be honest, in the beginning, I was like, okay, Jeff Teague's not bad. All right. I didn't think he'd be a savior. I didn't call him Lou Williams. All right. I said, you know what? Bring in another veteran, someone that you can rely on for double digits in point production, right? That's all I wanted, right? That's all I wanted to see. That's what I projected, right? Tristan Thompson, I wasn't too crazy about the way other people were crazy about it. That's the best way I could put it, right? I wasn't thinking, okay, Thompson's going to come in here and just be another guy off the bench. No, I know he's going to bring that championship pedigree. I know he has a lot to prove. I know he wants to get back on this grand stage and show that. So I was excited for that because those locker room guys, they go a long way with this group, I think. But at the same time, I'm thinking, Bam Adebayo, Joel Embiid, Tristan Thompson. I mean, that's it for the Celtics right now, right? In terms of matching up with, well, at least compared to what we saw last year, Bam Adebayo was the difference in that series. Bam Adebayo had the game-winning block at the end. Bam Adebayo couldn't be stopped in Game 7, right? So how is this team going to measure up with that? And not to mention the fact, obviously, what was going on in Brooklyn. These guys are healthy again. The Miami Heat are going to come back stronger. Are the Celtics necessarily better? I think that's why I had them as a top 5 team at best, whereas some people may have had them cracking the top 3 maybe. So I think when all that considered, right, heading into the regular season, I just thought the Celtics were a little short, a little thin there, but they're going to have to rely on those 2 signings a little more than they should, or a little more than those 2 are probably going to be used to or accustomed to at this point in their career. And I'm not saying that they're like washed or whatever. I just think that they're both coming from situations where they haven't played competitive basketball at this level in quite some time, And so heading into it, I'm thinking about that. But, Peyton Pritchard, the rookie, Aaron Nesmith, I'm like, these guys are going to have to contribute, So I just think that's a whole lot to ask, again, under these circumstances, under this new normal COVID-19 riddled season, in the NBA, 4 or 5 games a week, pretty much playing every other day. I just thought that's a whole lot. And my initial prediction, honestly, was 10 games in, 500 team for sure. I was wrong, but 10 games after that, that's exactly where they are and where they were and where they are right now. And I don't mean that as like, oh man, I told you so, because this isn't how I exactly envisioned it to pan out. But I'm way less confident in the sense of seeing this team head back to at least the Eastern Conference Finals than I was a few months ago before the season started. It's a little less, but relatively the same.
Yeah, as we are recording right now, Celtics are currently 14-14. One thing that you mentioned, Josue, that didn't come across my mind to start off the season, I didn't think this defense was going to be this bad. And the defense is really bad. Obviously, right now, there's no Marcus Smart, but with Marcus Smart in the lineup, teams were still able to, penetrate inside, even with Tice and Tristan Thompson. You didn't have Kemba to start off the year. There was just a lot of things working.
Yeah, again. That too. I should have mentioned that too. Yeah, we all knew he's gonna miss. At least I thought he'd miss about 20. He came quicker than I thought he would. But yeah, that was another one too. I'm like, this is just out of the gate. It's gonna be tough. Right.
Some may say he came too quick, but trust me, we'll get to Kemba. We'll get to Kemba when we get there. But yeah, Celtics are
man, you have a lot to get because this is it's a lot to unpack.
It's a lot to unpack, man.
Yeah.
But I want to stick to the defensive portion. Brad Stevens' team since 2013, whether we had superstars or not, Celtics were always known for their defense. Always known for their defense. And where do you think the collapse went? I know you mentioned Gordon Hayward leaving, but I think there has to be a lot more to that, to why Celtics can't stop anybody.
Right. No, I mean, I just think that's a big chunk of it, because I think when you couple injuries, whether we're talking, to the front court of the big man, or whether we're talking about Kemba Walker, it just makes things a lot worse, because there isn't those guys that could sort of weather the storm, or at least on a consistent level. And that's exactly what we're seeing, right? We're seeing Shemi Ojale have his big career night, and then we're not quite sure what we're going to see after that. We're seeing Grant Williams come up big, and then we're not quite sure what we're going to see after that. So it's just like, because we're talking about players that are not accustomed to being in these positions. Now, Grant Williams, I guess, is the exception. Grant Williams, I thought had a role on last year's team. It diminished towards the end, but he was put in a spot that I thought he'd be much more comfortable in returning into that role this season, and it hasn't come into fruition. He's still having hesitation offensively, hesitation spots where Brad really needs him to step up. And of course, other guys as well. You know, the Robert Williams experiment, I'm calling it at this point, you know, where that continues, where he's showing you bright spots, but you're looking for consistency, and he's not giving it well enough for him to even hold down a consistent spot in Brad's rotation. So it's just that when you couple all that together and you don't have, you know, a healthy Marcus Smart out there who anchors your defense, you know, whether we're talking a confidence standpoint for the rest of that second unit and the grind, you know, the crazy stretch of games, traveling on the road, you know, at least in the bubble, the one luxury all these NBA teams had, or at least the ones that were down there, was that they had consistent access to practice, to the practice facility. There was no grueling travel schedule. There was no getting in late or flying in late, flying out late. So I thought that was a huge plus for this team, and of course all the teams around the NBA. But just a really tough spot to be in for these guys. And I think, again, Danny Ainge heading into this season thought that, you know, he could lean on those two free agent signings more than he thought heading into the season. It just hasn't been the case.
Yeah, and you bring up Danny Ainge because I personally feel as if, as the Celtics continue to struggle and, you know, conversations happen within the media, I feel like Danny Ainge, the spotlight never really gets put on Danny Ainge. You know, people say, "Oh, Brad Stevens, is he losing the team, or the players tuning him out?"
Calling for him to get fired now.
Yeah, people are saying different things, but I always feel like the majority of Celtics Nation, they don't put the spotlight on Danny Ainge. And I think today, Danny Ainge had a interview on Toucher and Rich, I believe was the show he was on, and I got the quote right here that Bleacher Report put up on him. Said, "Our roster obviously is not good, and there's somebody to blame. You know, put the blame on him." Danny Ainge is taking the blame for what this team is looking like right now, and it's something that I believe he should be taking all of. I believe Danny Ainge deserves all of the blame right now, because similar to the things we all been talking about, you have a team that they've made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, 3 out of the last 4 years. They've been this close to success and being on that stage where the lights are the brightest. They've been there. They, in a sense, knows what it feels like. They knows what it takes to get there. But then you come into this 2021 season, and it's like the foot is still not on the gas pedal to try to get over that hump of being a finals team, being a serious contender. You're in the Eastern Conference Finals the previous year, and then you clearly fall to the Heat. What are you doing to keep the pressure on in the following season? I like the fact that Danny Ainge went out and got Tristan Thompson. I like the fact that he went out and got T, because one thing we've always said is veteran players can probably help this team. Kyrie said it a while ago, and people wanted to hate on Kyrie when he said a lot of crazy stuff. But that's one statement that Kyrie said that I stand by to this day, of talking about how this team needs, you know, veteran pieces, veteran players that can really help out the team.
14-year veteran. I remember vividly transcribing it.
Yep. That statement.
Describing Kyrie was like crazy homework, man.
a lot of words coming out of his mouth.
Yo, I think I cracked 700 words in one night. I was like, man.
But yeah, Danny Ainge, I think a lot of the blame should go on him, and the spotlight should be on him in terms of what kind of team is he trying to build. Because in all honesty, right now, we don't know. You know that you have Tatum and Brown. Kemba, who knows? I know Marv can't wait to talk about Kemba. But after you get past Tatum and Brown, what is this team? What is Danny Ainge trying to do here?
See, I think Kemba has a big chunk in this, but it doesn't excuse Danny. You know, I think one of the most eye-opening quotes he said, or telling, I should say, is the best way. The most telling quote he said before the regular season was, "This year will tell us about Kemba Walker's immediate future," something to that effect. I'm paraphrasing it, something like that. Pretty much saying like how his knee response this year will tell us if it's the beginning of the end, or will tell us if we got a 2-year window to work with. I think that's what I read between the lines when he said that. And I think in some ways he was thinking that what Kemba had left, or him coming back, you know, that rehabilitating process, coupled with, you know, Thompson and Teague being excited to join, you know, a team that just, you know, was one win away from the NBA Finals. I think he thought that was enough. I think he thought that was enough to outweigh getting, you know, parting ways with Gordon Hayward. And I think from the outside looking in, you could see why he thought that. But at the same time, you can't help but wonder, did Danny truly maximize Gordon Hayward's value? You know?
Absolutely not.
We don't know yet, right? We can't truly answer that question. He technically still has a traded, a TPE worth, a chunk that he could say, aha, okay, I got this out of Gordon Hayward, so get off my back. So we still, the clock's still ticking here, but the clock's ticking, right?
Yeah.
So, Indiana is always a team that's going to pop in my mind about that offseason. I'll always wonder how close, how realistic was that? And what I mean by that is, I do think an offer to that extent was on the table that involved. I don't know if McDermott was that other piece, but I think there was talk that there was Miles Turner out there. I just think there's something to that, because sending him back home, I think that was a legitimate option for Gordon, and he actually mentioned it a couple of times since the months removed from the whole process, right? So I think that's a big part of it. But the biggest question is, did Michael Jordan call him before or after? Like, that's what I need to know. Like, because if that's the case, if Michael swooped in the final hour, he was gone. But if that offer was on the table and Danny Ainge had an opportunity to execute it and make it happen before Michael even considered, or at least put in a serious offer for Gordon Hayward, then I can't, Danny dropped the ball there.
Sure did.
Miles Turner makes this Celtics team a championship contender, but I just think that they'd be in a much better shape right now. I do.
Yeah, and when you think about Danny Ainge, obviously what I'm about to say, there's many factors to it, but when you let Al Horford go for nothing, when you let Kyrie Irving go for nothing, and then potentially Gordon Hayward, I know that's in the flux right now. Any other GM loses those three type of superstars and get nothing in return, I don't think they have a job. I don't think they have a job.
Fellas, if Kemba Walker wasn't itching to, finally play for a contender so much, this team could be in a really tough spot here. And listen, shout out to all the Scary Terry fans and Rozier fans out there. If they went down that road, who knows, whatever. Listen, would that team have gone to the finals? I don't think so. So, it's tough, because Danny's also – he's the king of saying this quote, right? Sometimes the best move is the ones you don't make, right? Because you don't know, an opportunity will come around and all of a sudden, wait a minute, Kyrie's out the door, but we have Kemba Walker coming right in. So it's like, does Danny have another one in them? Is that what's going to be the next move for Danny? Or does Danny have something, up his sleeve where he has to really stop maneuvering picks, whatever he has left of that, what used to be a treasure trove, right? Whatever he has left of that, and make a modern day version of, I don't know, an Isaiah Thomas like trade, right? That trade that just, it doesn't get you to the NBA finals or whatever, but gives your team enough of a spark to maybe push you into an Eastern Conference matchup and give you a fighter's chance into the NBA finals. Because you still have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and I think these guys have another level. I don't think this is it. I think there's another notch to this, but they need some help. They need some serious help.
Yeah, I mean, you watch game after game, Tatum and Brown are doing their thing, which is why, there's talks of them joining the All-Star team, because they continuously produce game in and game out. But, if those guys, in a lot of these games that we've seen this season, if those guys aren't playing out of their minds, putting up, 25, 30 points, it's over for the Celtics. Because you're not getting any type of help. You go through the list of guys. Sure, Semi Ojeleye can have a game where he goes off, and Pritchard can have a game where he looks great, but these guys aren't consistent enough to be that additional help to these stars on the team, which is the serious issue. So,
right, yeah, no, that's a good point. It's funny. Before the season started, I was like, man, these two are gonna have to average. I was talking to on Causeway Street. I told my co-host, like, these two are gonna have to average a combined like 53, 54 points. Pretty much. Laughing, he was like, "Come on, man, that's crazy." I'm like, "What do you mean?" It's like, where's production, and look at the average now. It's like, what, they Celtics need more now. They needed more than 53 points out of those two. It's crazy.
And let's get to it. Let's get to it. Why do they need more? Listen, we can attack Danny, we can attack Brad Stevens, but at the end of the day, Celtics were supposed to potentially have 3 stars. Now, Mike and I have always said, even when Kemba Walker came onto the team, we want the hierarchy to be Tatum, Brown, then Kemba. Kemba came into this league.
Oh, yeah? You said that at the beginning. Wow.
Prior, how it had to be, man.
Even prior to it.
Was ready. You guys were ahead of me. I didn't think Jalen was ready.
We wanted to see Jalen. Jalen has shown us flashes where we saw he was more aggressive than Tatum, even in that year with Kyrie and everything. There was times he was a lot more aggressive, and we saw another notch to it. And when Kemba was there, we wanted Kemba to be that closer, that fourth quarter when he's a veteran, he knows how to close games. We know about cardiac Kemba, and they show flashes of that earlier prior to the bubble. That we all know what happens into the bubble, right? I gave Kemba a nickname, Kemba Happy to Be Here Walker. It just looked like, he was enjoying seeing Tatum flourish. He was enjoying seeing Brown flourish, and he's just happy to be here.
Going to the second round. What up?
I'm going to the second round. I scored 0 points, but I'm checking everybody's heart, and that's what it was. That's what it was. He was happy to be here, and I didn't see the killer mentality in Kemba no more. Come to find out, he was in his knee problems. He wasn't really as healthy as we thought he was. Okay, then we have this whole knee thing to start off this season. We see Kemba back now. My issue with Kemba is his aggressiveness. And when he picks and chooses to score, or sometimes if he sees Tatum go off, obviously he's been great for the development, right? He's been great for Brown's development. He's been great for Tatum's development. And we love that for him. He has never been trying to be a ball hog or is all about me. However, we all see it. There's no one else on this roster. Kemba needs to look at himself and say, there needs to be a time where I start off strong and I take over. He's been inconsistent. The shot hasn't been well. And then he just disappears. In big moments, he disappears and you forget that Kemba's on the court sometimes. And it's very, very frustrating. And that's the Celtics' biggest problem right now. It's Kemba Walker. What do you do with him? I remember there was trade rumors prior that, Drew Holiday could possibly be a target for the Celtics to get, and Kemba and Gordon would have to go. I was all for it. I was campaigning it. As much as I love Kemba, the person who he is and what he's done for the development of our two young stars, he's good. He's the hanker right now. He's really bringing us down due to the fact that he's not. If he was able to score 15 to 18 consistently, I think the Celtics are a lot better right now than where they are.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I always said if you get bubble Kemba, that's as good as it's going to get. And what I mean by that is that Kemba needs surgery, man. I mean, we've seen this before, guys. I mean, come on, y'all been close to the Celtics the last few years. This train's never late. That train always shows up, right? He just needs to be rehabilitated. In this case, right? Oh, it's stem cell. And then there's the flat, he's going to have a procedure, And I think the Celtics were doing their best to prolong that, because in this quick turnover from one season to another, they couldn't afford for him to miss an entire season. They would have shot the season's done, And of course, that has drastic ramifications for Jason Tatum and Jalen. I mean, let's face it, these guys are young. What if they're thinking about going elsewhere? Or, I don't know. I just think it's really important for the Celtics to remain as competitive as possible. So they went with the stem cell injection. And although the production hasn't been what it's supposed to be for Kemba Walker's standards, I think the one underlying hope for me is the way he's moving, the eye test. He looks fine. I mean, not fine, but you know what I mean, right? Like he's crossing people up. He can weave through traffic. He can get to the rim. He's just not always finishing. And I think that's been something that's been sort of, maybe he's in his head too much. Maybe the pressure is starting to get to him a little bit. The schedule, the fatigue, all that. Okay, so where are we at now? Over 10, 15 games. We've seen stretches of it, right? But what worries me is I don't want Kemba to turn into the kind of player that has to rely heavily on his three-point shooting, because that's never been his entire game. That's a big part of his game. That's a devastating part of his game that can really crush defenses if they're not quick, and he's a constant threat, which obviously opens up everything for Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. But if he becomes someone that has to score 4 3-pointers to get to 20 points every single night, that's just not the recipe for the kind of third role player you need to get to the NBA Finals.
Yeah, Kemba.
That's tough. But I'm not done yet, though. I'm not done with I'm not done saying Kemba, this is it for Kemba. He's gonna fight through it. And this season we're close to it, but we're not quite there at the halfway mark, and we still got a lot of basketball left.
So, I mean, you got Kemba and his inconsistency. You have Jaylen Brown and Tatum doing their thing, but obviously needing help. You're looking forward to Smart coming back and adding, I guess, more toughness and a little bit of some defensive help, but he's not really a savior that's going to, completely flip things around. But you do have the trade deadline coming up. You do have, the buyout season coming up. It's now or never for Danny Ainge. Since I think they're still a long ways away from possibly being a legit championship contender, but what remains is the fact that you have two, damn near superstars on the team that can go out and win you games, and they're obviously a few helpful pieces away to probably be in a position of being a Eastern Conference Finals team. Like, they're not that far off, but they got some ways and some work to put in to be there again. So as we get to this trade deadline buyout season, we're seeing Drummond and Blake Griffin being pulled from games because they're being shopped around and whatnot. It's that time of the year where
one thing that gets not to cut you off real quick, but this is one thing that gets NBA fans excited is when players get pulled off, right? It's like, oh,
because you never know what's gonna happen. You never know.
He's out.
But yeah, that was Danny.
That's why some people, they don't like the NBA, man. Like, these damn players, they can just be like, "Yo, I'm done. All right, it's cool. No, you don't have to play today. We'll trade you. We'll figure something out." Like,
so it's a wild business. It's a wild business. But Danny Ainge, or Trader Danny, whatever you want to call him, he clearly has work to do to fix this team. If he's going out publicly and already saying it's my fault why this team sucks, then you got to do something about it, Danny. So what do you think right now are some of the biggest needs for this team that Danny should probably be trying to target as you get into this trades and buyout season?
Trade and buyout season, man. It's almost March. It's crazy. I think it goes back to defense and it goes back to defending the wing. I think the best way to put it is they need versatile defenders, right? Pick and roll defenses. Guys are getting crushed. I talked a little bit about Robert Williams earlier. That's one part of his game that he's improved in, but also gets crushed sometimes. All these fouls, which really has crushed the Celtics in some of these games. A couple of these games where, in the recent stretch especially, where they could have pulled out a win, but they just got into foul trouble, and it was just a free throw shooting contest at the end, and they couldn't string together stops. I think that's been most frustrating about this Celtics team, being able to string together crucial stops in the fourth quarter, because that's always been Brad Stevens' MO, right? Most of Brad Stevens' teams, it's come down to the defense. It's been the defense that's been able to catapult the offense and open up opportunities for guys that you don't necessarily expect to come out big. And that's what we've seen in certain stretches, but we haven't seen it on a consistent level. And it goes back to the defense. But yeah, can the Celtics use another a veteran big in exchange for one of the three that they had? Sure, but how does that pan out? I don't know if there's a team out there, or at least a scenario where you bring in a big and you don't, give up more than you're really, that's worth the deal. I don't know. I think it's more important to try to address the wing position and try to get a couple of secondary players instead of trying to go all in on an Andre Drummond. But I do think Danny Ainge is going to try to do something like that, whether it's Drummond or Blake Griffin. I guess it all depends on what he's willing to pay for it. What's the price?
People don't like Blake. I don't understand why people don't like Blake. The way I see
you like Blake?
I don't like Blake.
I see Blake in his style of play, it's like clearly a watered down version as to what Al Horford was for the Celtics. In terms of bigs, Celtics
something like that. But doesn't he have like a Brad Stevens system written all over him? I just think this new age Blake, I'm like, that would be perfect for the Celtics.
I think it would fit. People hate Blake because he's not the athletic. He's not dunking anymore. But all you need is a big. Obviously, Blake has the handles. He can facilitate a little bit. He's still a decent post player. He hasn't completely lost it. But I feel as if he's the type of player similar to what Al Horford was for the Celtics. That's the type of big that fits Brad Stevens' system. Like Tristan Thompson and Rob Williams, those type of guys are great. Bigs who can rebound, block some shots, maybe catch some lobs. Every team needs that. But if you have a stretch type of guy who can handle it, Tice has the shot, but other than that, Tice is pretty similar to Tristan Thompson and Rob Williams, other than the fact that he can shoot the three ball. But a guy like Horford on this team, Blake Griffin, I wouldn't mind seeing that type of player back on this
The
team.
difference between Horford and Griffin is Horford plays defense.
That's a big part.
Griffin, he's not. Once he lost his athleticism, he's never been a defender. He's never been a defensive player or a defender. And we've seen and multiple times, although we always lose to Detroit for some reason, but we see multiple times Blake Griffin can't guard nobody. Tatum
did have a winning shot over him.
Yeah, they have field days against them, and it's for a reason. They get targeted. And Celtics right now, their defense isn't great, so I wouldn't really love to see Blake Griffin on this team. But Josue,
I think he has the tools for it though. Like I think he would fit the system. But I mean, I'm with you. I don't think it's like he's not on the top of my list. But like I just think those kind of players that you can switch in and out in the front court, and you can have the athleticism, the body to defend the wing. I mean, I just wish his 3-point his percentage. I mean, he's new to it, right? He's trying to like get
the last couple of seasons. Yeah,
like if he was closer to 40 than he is the 30%, I'd be way more into it. Because to your point, that's what made Al such a lethal team. Man, he shot over 40% from back there. He could really get hot. So it was like whether he was the one rolling, in the pick and roll set, or he was the one knocking it down, playing point forward, he could do both.
Losing Al Horford really hurt the Celtics in multiple ways. I think if you have Al Horford last year, you're to the NBA Finals, honestly, just to what he brought to this team. And we all talk about veteran leadership. But Josue, earlier you was talking about how, what would you have to give up to, get these big pieces that the Celtics have. But there's just a lot of pieces that the Celtics have that they don't need. I know Mike hates it when he sees a Carson Edwards or Tremont Waters on the squad, a bunch of point guards that are under 6 feet that are not playing. Romeo Langford, we don't know his issue. We don't know what type of player Romeo Langford.
Who's been hurt since draft night?
No, his dreads,
every time I see him, his dreads just keep getting longer and longer, but we haven't seen the man play yet. So there's a lot of pieces on this team that really have any fit. Like Taco, we don't believe Taco's the future for the Boston Celtics by any means. So there's a lot of roster spots right now the Celtics have up.
Mar, you sound like the head of like some union. Like we're not buying this.
This is our first show talking to Celtics.
Or your Carson Edwards nonsense. I hear you, man. Yeah.
So why hasn't the wing been addressed? Why? I know they didn't buy in Neesmith to be a guy who's going to have 25 minutes a game. You get rid of Gordon Hayward. Right. The wing position should have been addressed.
No, definitely. I just think Danny overlooked that, losing Hayward, and I think he thought that he could just, move these guys up, Shemi and Grant. I mean, Grant's still a little bit of a head scratcher for me, man, because I was in that party too. I was one of those guys that think he's gonna step his game up,
Grant can go.
Just hasn't, and like that's one part of the issues here, right? That second unit, but I mean, again, I think that's why Danny's taking more responsibility here, and of course he's trying to take the heat off of Brad because Brad got it bad after those back-to-back losses to Detroit and Washington. So, it goes back to Brad. It goes back to Danny because he's the one that drafted these guys. Whether it was second rounder, he's the one that collected these picks and held on to these guys. And outside of Peyton, how crazy is this, right? Outside of Peyton Pritchard, you look at the last like 2-3 years, like
it's terrible.
Who's a big standout rookie? That wasn't a lottery outside the lottery pick. It's just I think Danny's put himself in a position where now it's like, okay, you have to make a splash here and everyone knows it. But the unique thing about the TPE though is that he could technically still use it after the season during the off season, but then that's when you really lose your leverage, right? So he has to capitalize on this now, and it's going to be interesting to see which players he targets, obviously. And if it ends up where Danny's most likely going to overpay, right? If that's the case, well, who you overpaying here? Is it Grant? Is it Robert? Which one of these young guys are you going to part ways with? Because you're probably going to have to part with a couple of them. So which ones do you really believe in, and which ones you're going to have to, or maybe the ones you believe in most are the ones that he has to, he's up against it and ends up parting ways with.
I've been on the train that says Danny Ainge should be on his way out the door really soon. And I might be the only one I might be the only one on that train, but it's been brewing up these last couple of years. And the more I have the conversation with different people, I say, look, Danny Ainge might be on his way out because I don't know what the heck he's doing with this team. People say, oh, he's done so much. He's got Tatum and Brown. He did the big three, years ago. Like he's one of the better GMs. I'm to the point now where it's like, yeah, well, what have you done for me lately? And now I've reached the point now.
All right, well, Mike, let me help you out. This is the part of his tenure in the last couple of years where I said, because I wasn't at that point where you were, but I was thinking to myself, when are Celtics fans going to reach that point? So I looked ahead in my mind, and I was like, okay, if the stars leave, and at that time, right, which technically did happen, right? If Kyrie's out, if Hayward's out, and they have to just build around Tatum, Tatum's your new Paul Pierce. Like, I think that's when people are going to be like, okay, let's just hit the reset button. But then he inked Jaylen Brown to that contract extension, the freaking one of the biggest steals in the NBA, next to Marcus Smart. Those are two very, very valuable contracts where he really got his money's worth there. So that's it, Mike. I mean, that for me at least bought him up until next season or this upcoming offseason at least. Because listen, if he didn't re-sign Jaylen Brown, man, this team would be in a much worse. It wouldn't be. We'd be wondering if they're going to make the playoffs. That's what we would be talking about.
So here's what I'm going to say with that, and I hear you. Everything you're saying is true. So you look at Danny Ainge's time with the Celtics. You got the early years, then you got the big three era, then you had the short little Kyrie era. Now you're in an era where it's the Tatum Brown Smart era, right? This is like the Tatum Brown Smart era. I'm to the point now where depending on what happens in this Tatum Brown Smart era will determine Danny Ainge's future, in my opinion. Depending on what you can squeeze out of this Tatum Brown Smart era, because that's like your top three guys. When people talk about who's untouchable on the Celtics, they'll probably tell you those three players. So depending on what Danny can get out of this era, it will determine for me how they should move forward with him. Because if you get through this era with Tatum and Brown in these young ages, and you get nothing from it.
Here's why I'm buying Danny.
I'm with you, man. Especially because you've been so close. Like, yeah, I'm with you.
I'm buying Danny time due to the fact that he gave us a championship roster not too long ago. Like
2017, 2018.
It seems like it was 10 years ago, but it really wasn't. Kyrie,
that team was
like that team was supposed to go to the championship, and it didn't, and none of it was because of Danny Ainge. And that team fell apart due to a lot of inside mess that was going on during that time.
That's a great way to put it.
That was beyond Danny Ainge's control. He brought a championship team to Boston in 2018 that was supposed to last for at least 4 or 5 years going further, especially if he could have inked up that Jaylen Brown deal with the squad we had. Oh my goodness. So that's why, although everything is very frustrating, he brought us a championship team. So let's see what he can do to try to regroup it.
Yeah, I'm with you. Definitely. And I think also a big part of this is, the way they finished last season. And man, you think about the route they went through. It's like, it doesn't get much like easier than that, right? Like you took care of Philly so quickly. You get through the Bucks. You put the Bucks, the Bucks were on. They nearly, if it wasn't for Giannis being so damn loyal and wanted to be different, they were up against just dismantling that team altogether because of what happened against the Celtics. And then you're essentially, you couldn't force Game 7, one Game 7 away.
The Heat.
But at the same time, you had a lot of unfortunate things happen. The Kemba injury. They pull up to Florida and Hayward's injured again. It's like, man, like things that it was just not in the card for the Celtics, even though they nearly squeezed it out. So with that, I'm like, all right, well, here we go again. Like I can't fault Danny for that, So this year, the offseason of losing Hayward, I think, and I don't know, I think it was Marv who brought it up, or Mike, one of you guys, obviously, I don't remember who, but brought up the fact that you lost. You didn't get compensation for Kyrie, for Hayward, or
that,
you got a little bit of compensation here for Hayward. What happens next here? Like that's kind of that's a tough spot here. Kemba getting hurt is not your fault, but when you think about what happened to the other two free agents, it's just like, well, you didn't really have a lot of assets to play with because of that.
Hey. You guys have a lot of more faith in Danny than I do. It's just
Mike
frustrating.
Mike,
It's
Mike
frustrating.
wants him gone.
Get him out of here.
I'm that close. I haven't officially swung that door open, but I'm right there, and I'm waving my hand to people to come over with me to help me get that door open even more. But man, I'm telling
Mike
you,
started his own union. He's like, listen, we're gonna.
hey man, pitchforks and everything. We ready to march on Danny. But I mean, we could talk Celtics all day, all night. You know, the conversations can go on and on and on about this team, and I mean, as we've been saying, as the trade deadline and buyout season comes up, you know, we all just waiting to see what happens, and waiting to see what Danny Ainge, what other tricks he can pull out of his sleeve, because this team clearly needs some help. Sitting at 14-14, fifth in the Eastern Conference, you know, this team clearly needs some help because it's not the team that we saw last season. So
I have a question for both of you guys before we move on. I think Mike mentioned that Marcus Smart is untouchable. Is Marcus Smart untouchable for the right price?
Nah, I don't think he is, man. I mean, this is the situation they're in now, right? Because Kemba Walker, I mean, how much value does he have?
Exactly.
You know, I mean, I unfortunately, and I'm definitely a Marcus Smart guy. Unfortunately, that's your best asset, and I think that was one of the first things that I thought about once the Hayward thing was official. I'm like, oh man, he's expendable now. He's expendable.
And it's unfortunate because when Danny's gonna call, they're gonna say, okay, Danny, that's fine and all. What's up with Marcus Smart? Because they're not gonna try Tatum, they're not gonna try Brown. Right. They understand that.
Let me get that bargain contract, the biggest bargain contract in the NBA. Let me get
beautiful. That contract is the best contract in the NBA, and everyone's gonna want that.
All defense right there.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I think Danny Ainge absolutely positively loves Marcus Smart. You know, they feel he's the heart and soul of the team. And like I said before, when I think of like the era that the Celtics are currently in, it's the Tatum, Brown, and Smart era. I know Kemba's coming through and different players popping in here and there, but I think of Tatum, Brown, and Smart. So I mean, I guess, yeah, he's probably the most valuable piece on the team, but I don't know. I think Danny Ainge will find a way, like he has in the past, to swindle his way out of moving that guy and making another move happen with still some draft picks out there that they have. And then they got all these other guys sitting on the bench, and you got the big trade exception. I don't know. I think that Smart's untouchable, but
I think teams are tired. Teams are tired of Danny swindling.
For real. Yeah, that's a good point. I think that could have happened too between him and Indiana. Indiana's like, nah, you're not doing this to us, man. He's like, yo, I'm serious. Michael Jordan's gonna call. Yeah, whatever. We have to make this trade, man. I'm telling you.
Oh man,
you never know, man. But no, I'm with you, man. And again, I'm definitely a Marcus Smart guy. That's why, like, given the fact that I did think that this team is only, you know, a top 5 team, I still say I didn't think that it necessarily meant there was no chance they can make it back to the Eastern Conference Finals. And a big part of that is Marcus Smart. You know, it's not the stats, obviously. It's just a lot of those playoff games where when the pressure is at its most, like that's when he makes those big plays, the impossible plays. And he does it over and over again in the postseason, continues to level. You know, I think the only difference this year was he tried to do a little too much on the other end. But I mean, I don't think Marcus Smart's the kind of guy who's going to take that and think he has to transform his game. I just think he wants to adapt, and he wants to make sure everyone is on the same level as his on the defensive end. And I think that's a huge part for someone like Peyton Pritchard and the rest of that second unit. I mean, that's a big part of this as well when you think of all these games that the Celtics have lost. And a big reason why I think they're not going to rush him. You know, they need him in the postseason, and there's a big reason for that. So, yeah, I mean, after this season, though, I don't know, man. That's an attractive piece. You know, everyone's going to be asking for that because at this point, Jaylen Brown has reached a point where teams are going to be like, all right, we get it. All right, he's untouchable. We won't even ask about it. You know, so who's the next person there? It's going to be Marcus.
I agree, man, and it's going to be very interesting coming into March. The trade rumors are going to start to pick up a little bit, and Marcus Smart's smart. He's been in trade rumors before, so you know he's going to handle it well. But we'll see.
Definitely, yeah. And I was going to say too, I think Jaylen was that guy. You know, I think if the Celtics, I don't know, man. Sometimes I think if they wanted to, you know, bring in someone like Harden or whatever, like Jaylen Brown's stock, for obvious reasons, is at an all-time high, and I think Danny didn't do it, And shout out to Jaylen for these little subliminals, because I don't know if that was just the something for the fans, or if he was thinking like, you guys really entertaining this? Were you really on the phone with Houston? Because if that's the case, I'm going to go off and show y'all. Because I don't know if y'all remember, he posted that picture of him staring down Harden after he went out.
Yeah.
Very little subliminal shot there, but yeah,
I like it.
It's amazing what he's done, man. I'm just so like, I'm blown away by Jaylen Brown, what he does, and continues to get better and better, man.
Yeah, Marvin and I have said this numerous times. Like, obviously, Tatum has continued to develop as he's been in the league, but Jaylen Brown's leap from his first year to what he is today is absolutely
he drained 5 3-pointers, and it's like light work now. It's like a footnote. I'm like, when did the Celtics have someone like this doing it?
That man could not shoot.
Right? That rookie season.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, maybe he's gonna be like an Iguodala. Like, I don't know.
Right, for sure.
Now we're talking about him as one of the best two-way guards in the league, possibly one of the best two-way guards in the league. So it's crazy. But yeah, man, and we'll see. He should get named to the All-Star game coming up real soon as one of the reserves. But Josue, we got you here, man. Something we'd like to do with our guest that we have on Double M. We got some rapid fire questions coming your way that you got to answer right at the top of your head. Right at the top of your head.
Let's do it.
Get some water. Let me get some water too, because I gotta be ready to go.
All right, hold on.
Everybody hydrated. All right, love to see it.
Man. I always got the water and a little coffee here.
I hear you, man. All right, you ready? Rapid fire question. You're sitting on the couch watching your favorite show or movie. What is your guilty pleasure snack?
Oh man, Doritos. That's the first thing that came to my mind, which I haven't had in a while. I need to buy some more Doritos in here. Yeah, Doritos. The cheddar ones. I like the ranch ones, but I gotta be in the mood for the ranch. My go-to is the nacho one, nacho cheese.
The thing about the ranch, your breath start kicking after that, so you gotta be
a bunch of them, right? Yo, that's a good point. I'm just like, I'm done with them. Like the cheddar, I can have the fingers going. I'm gonna keep going if I need to the bag away from me. Yeah, that's a good point.
So while you're eating your Doritos, what's been your COVID binge? Or what's been your favorite COVID binge?
Oh man. Like during the lockdown or in general?
Yeah, during the lockdown.
What was I watching? I was watching so much stuff, man. I got like a whole
Weren't we all
subscription now. I got HBO. I got it all, man. Man, what was I watching though? You know what was I watching that I got really into? And I was like, wait a minute, this is kind of like a teen soap. I was like, man, All American.
Everybody.
It got me too, bro.
I watched the whole thing, man.
I was so embarrassed of myself watching.
But you know what helped? Helped a little bit. I think it was Jeff Goodman from CLNS Media. He had Jason Tatum on, and he asked him the same question. He was just like, "Yo, All Americans be my go-to." I was like, "Right, all right, word." At least Tatum's doing it too. Yeah, that was it, man. It's funny because that's not my type of show at all, man. I just started watching a couple episodes and I got into it. So
that show is so fruity and dramatic, and then I'm like, I'm on episode 10 already.
And then the music came in and everything. I'm like, oh man, this is like a teen soap, man.
Wow. Hey, well, y'all got that because I have not watched that. I've heard about it, but I have not dived.
Don't do it, Mike. Don't get sucked in, man. Yo,
I won't. All right,
won't be able to get stuff done, man.
Another question. You got a dinner for 4. You're one of the 4. You can take any athlete, past or present, to dinner with you. 3 other guests.
Man.
Who are you taking?
Michael Jordan. I gotta talk to Paul Pierce, man. I mean, I have already, but that dinner, yeah. Michael Jordan, yeah, Paul, you're gonna come with me too. Past or present. I kind of want to say Max, but I'm like, should I give one of these away to Max? I can just talk to Max any day right now. Sorry, Max. Hold up. You said any athlete though, right?
Any athlete, any sport.
NBA. Oh man. Give me Tom Brady.
So Brady, Jordan, and Pierce.
Brady, Jordan, Pierce. I'm getting excited. Like this is gonna happen, right? Like y'all gonna make my dream come true.
Pierce is so happy he made this list right now. His head is already big. You just boosted Pierce's head.
You know why, man? Because Paul is just like, for me, he's like the ultimate underdog. So I'm like, I want to put him next to these goats and just like the conversation. Because
be feeling himself.
You know what it is? Yeah, I know, right? And I'm gonna be like, yo, remember who brought you here? Nah, he would never tell me that. No, the being from bottom, going from bottom to the top, like almost in reverse, so to speak. I mean, obviously, Paul Pierce was never like a top 5, NBA player, or at least considered the best. But like, just from where he was in an era where players weren't, you didn't just go from being the worst to first. Like that just didn't happen the way he did. Like, and he was the MVP, and he was the one that took down Kobe, and he was the one that took down LeBron. I just think that run is so unique in that, being the NBA Finals MVP and going through two of the best, in my opinion, at that time, two of the best players in the world, and he took them both down, and he had to guard those guys. So I just think this is a special story. I mean, obviously, I'm from Boston, so that part helps. But right. I just think, yeah. But who's the fourth, man?
You're the fourth.
Nah, someone else got me
there. Or you wanted those three with you: Pierce, Brady, and Jordan. All right.
Hold on. One more.
No, he wants one more guess. Let him get
one more guess. All right, go ahead.
Give me. Dang. Yeah, I kind of want to say, but all right, his personality is a little different, but he's so great and one of the greatest of all time. Like, I'm gonna say Tiger Woods.
Interesting.
I
want to hear everyone's story because it's all different, and for selfish reasons, I want one-on-ones and then a big circle talk. Yeah, right. That's it. I want those 4 guys. Give me Paul Pierce, Tom Brady, Tiger Woods, and Michael Jordan. That's a crazy dinner. That is like,
you won't have to worry about paying the bill in that dinner.
Not at all.
Yeah, that's true too. You got someone who grew up in privilege, other players who didn't. You have so there's a lot. There's a lot there. A lot to unpack. Yeah.
All right. Top 5 rappers, dead or alive.
Oh man, I'm not gonna say anyone that's gonna shock you. So I'm just gonna go with it. I always try to switch it up, but it's been the same for me for like the last at least decade or now, give or take. Big J, Pac. Wait, big no order, right? Big J, Pac, M and Nas.
M and Nas. That's a safe and good.
Yeah, it's always safe, right? I think the better way to do it is line them up. M's 5th. I don't know.
I like
maybe
it.
4th. I don't know, man. That's the only difference. Like throughout the years, that it might switch up, but the top, I got Jay at the top though. Jay-Z's. I'm a Jay guy for sure. It's tough, man. But then Nas could be number 2. It's tough.
I'm a big Nas fan. I personally got Nas over Jay on my list, but that's just
you got Nas over Jay. Yeah, I don't see. I'm one of those guys. I'm one of those Jay guys, but I'm not gonna call you crazy for that. Like, I think I grew up a big Nas fan as well, but Jay-Z just tipped the scale for me. But like I said, like 10 years ago, it was Jay and Nas 1 and 2. So it's tough. It changes. But those are my 5.
Okay. Yeah, man, that's a good list. I'm trying to think of any more rapid questions, but we could have rapid questions for Dave. One last thing we want to do before we wrap things up here on Double M. Marvin and I have been doing giving out flower series as we're in Black History Month right now. So we want to give people flowers. Sometimes people don't get their flowers till it's too late, as we've seen over time, but we don't want to waste time giving out flowers now. If you can think to anybody throughout history, it doesn't matter, dead or alive, as we're in this Black History Month, someone who you thinks deserves their flowers.
Oh man, dead or alive? I mean, he gets a lot of recognition, but I think what he's been doing lately on the political front and the messages that the gutlessness and just like the courage, I should say, better yet, Dave Chappelle, man. It's incredible. He just put out some heat. Like I'm saying, like it's a mixtape or something, right? He just put out some heat on Netflix, and I had to pull it back. Like I had to watch the whole thing again, and it's just like it's passionate. It's so genuine. It resonates with so many of us, and at the same time, it's fearless. It's in the forefront. It's Saturday Night Live. It's Netflix, the biggest streaming service on the planet. You know, it's like in everyone's face, and I love that about him. And he's never changed, and he's never held his tongue or held back or bit his tongue. It's incredible, and I think he needs a little bit more recognition for what he's been doing outside of obviously his art and what he's done at that. You know, he's the GOAT. You know what he does as a comedian, but it's just different with him. His message rings different than most comedians.
I love that. That's a perfect way to end off flowers.
Yeah, man, for sure, man. I'm a huge Dave guy. That thing. Hey, everyone listening, man, if you haven't checked it out, man, I recommend you do. And also, Chappelle Show's coming back to streaming services. And
it's back, man. It's back. I was watching the very
Chappelle Show. You'll find out. All right, check it out.
It's already back. I have one last one. I know we're supposed to end it. I got one last one. Who would you like to see on Double M Live next as a special guest?
Oh man, you know what? You guys should talk to Gary, man. Gary Washburn. That would be a dope episode because I mean he has that great insight into both. You know what we just talked about there. Obviously a little older, so he has an interesting scoop, and of course his NBA knowledge is incredible, man. He's got a new book out as well that he just wrote with Mark Spears, man.
Really?
Stuff but yeah, man. It's really good.
So the question is, can you help us get Gary Washburn on?
Yeah, I can do that. I got you. I can make that happen.
My guy, Josue, man, we appreciate you for coming on here. We gotta have
fun, man. That was quick. I can't believe it was an hour. Yo, I appreciate you guys.
Good conversation does that, man. Time flies with good conversation.
I know. I can enjoy this Thursday night. It's gonna be dope.
Next time we'll have an all-American podcast.
Don't let me watch the next season, bro. As soon as Netflix picks it up, I'm definitely gonna start watching it.
Oh man!
All right, Double M,
Double M Live. Here.
Yes, sir.
Marv, myself, our special guest Josue. Appreciate everybody for tuning in, watching, listening. Make sure you follow Josue. You see his IG and Twitter handles there, scrolling at the bottom. Make sure you like and subscribe Double M as well. It's Double M.
It's Double M, man. We'll have you again, Josue. This is not the end.
Definitely, man. Looking forward to it.
Yes, sir.